How about we get right to it? We got Bailey Shelton and Brent Lee Smith today, and myself talking about Anna Owens and ribs right here on Moonshine and Music.
You want to hear what a manatee sounds like?
Thing where I sing better if I am barefoot, and I don't have socks on right now.
Everyone knows my name, they can read it on my sleeve.
Played a banjo badly.
Feel the heat from the fire that's been burning in your heart.
Like, I love the old vintage stuff.
Somehow the 60 years and 19 days, they woke up in the dark.
We had to bury that stupid llama and it took us forever.
How to make music happen, how to make it pretty, how to make it dissonant, and I learned how to sing through them.
Don't let babies with crazy people, cause they never go away.
And then you could take like 6 pennies and tape them to the arm and it would ride over the wave.
Baby, later tonight, I'll see horses.
Welcome to Moonshine and Music. It is a wonderful episode today as we are going to review the album Ribs, which is by Anna Owens and the band Forever Young. And I've got my friends on board today and my daughter. We've got Brent Lee Smith, comedian extraordinaire, grip, stunt double, and all those other things that he does, as well as Bailey Shelton, live from Scotland, chipping in from across the pond.
And I don't apparently do anything except live in Scotland.
She lives in Scotland. She's also, a graphic designer and magazine editor. So
And a writer and
she writes something.
copy editor and
BaileyShelton.substack.com.
illustrator and
You can go listen.
Thank you.
You can go read her writings and musings about Scotland, and so that's that's a good place to start. Right?
Happy to be here. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, hey, this is going to be a lot of fun. We haven't done one of these in a while. Obviously, this is going to be a season 6 episode. We are starting to compile those right now, and so I guess we can jump right to the record. I want to play just like a quick clip of one of the songs, and then we can jump into talking about the album. Screen share. All right, there we go. So,
I can hear Bailey great, but you're a little bit low on the volume, Joe.
Okay, I'll see what I can do.
I'd rather be called naive than to worship your modern deities. I'd rather be called crazy than to bow before your feet. So get your expectations off of me, your rules and formalities. Don't you know I'm tired of playing ceremony? Well, throw me in the furnace, cause I'm not burning up. Ooh, sick of hearing your deeds were done in name of love. Ooh, sick of hearing your deeds were done in name of love.
So, I picked that one out because I think it kind of is a song that gives us a nice flavor of what the sound is like in general on the record.
Yeah.
Does that, ring true for you guys as well?
Yeah, for sure. So is Anna's local to Indianapolis? Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
How'd you get to know her?
Well, I know Anna because she showed up at like 13 years old or so at Square Cat Vinyl to do the open stage there, and that's how I met her the first time, and then she started coming to the Books and Brews open stage that I host during, like, right after the pandemic kind of subsided a bit and we started having open stage again. And she's kind of been a regular there since. And for being such a young person, she's 17. And so it's kind of insightful writing is what I hear on the record. And I've heard, as she's written these songs and brought them to the open stage and things, I've heard pretty much all of them, but just not in this format with all these band members. I mean, at an open stage, you hear an acoustic guitar version. And so it's kind of neat to hear them completely grown up with all of the bells and whistles happening.
So where does the connection with this band Forever Young come in then?
I think at her record launch party that she had at the Rick's Theater in Greenfield, I was there and she was talking about that she had met them during Books and Brews has open stage on Thursdays, but on Monday nights, once a month or something, they have something they call an open jam. And these guys just all kind of get in a room and they just play whatever, right? As a group, and she showed up to that and there was no one else there to be a singer one night. And so they started trying to play her songs. So, and then they, I guess, hit it off and they started recording the record. I think she said they'd been working on it for 18 months. So
I think that's right.
Yeah. So I guess that's a little background.
Sounds great too.
Been there. Me and Brent were both at the, Brent and I were both at the record launch show. So Go ahead, Brent.
Yeah, so I'd only heard her stuff acoustically too, and then seeing it with the full band at her release party, and then listening to the record, it's as produced as well as anything you will find anywhere. It sounds great, and hearing them all together and just adds that extra layer to everything, and it's I'm very impressed.
Honestly, I think it's kind of fun, the idea of a band working together for 18 months after meeting each other at an open jam. I feel like that's a real successful story in itself. I know that even the battle of the bands with the random draw doesn't turn out so well sometimes, and that's only a few weeks long process. So
right, yeah. The interesting thing to me is the guys in Forever Young. It's almost tongue in cheek. They're older guys.
It's funny.
They're all 65 plus, I think. I'm not sure their exact ages, but they're definitely older guys. And they walk out there and then she walks out. It's total dichotomy in the band versus Anna.
Mm-hmm. And her and she has 5 extra grandpas.
Yeah, they're fantastic players. I mean, they have a lot of experience and they're really good. So that's a huge plus.
Well, it's kind of a fitting visual with the sound that she's rocking, because what she does is it's almost especially with the religious imagery, and also she just kind of sounds like a Florence Pugh kind of not a Florence Pugh, a Florence and the Machine kind of moment a lot of the time. There's something weirdly ethereal in her sound. So I feel like if I saw her leading a band of older people and then she's the 17-year-old front woman, I'm like, okay, well, this person is probably had drinking from the fountain of youth and has somehow found the key to immortality and is not sharing it with her bandmates. So
maybe that's it. Maybe she's actually like Benjamin Button. I don't know.
Yeah, she's got something higher in power than we realize. So,
I think from my perspective, her first album I think was called Heartbeat, and she had 2 years ago, I believe, and a couple of the songs are reworked here and put back, into a better version on this album. And then the rest of them are brand new. I would say actually my favorite song here, if I'm picking out a favorite of all these, is still what my favorite song was on the other record. It's just so much better. which is False Prophet.
Yeah.
I really love that song for many reasons, but the backing track on this is just fantastic, and her performance is even better. It's got like so much. When I first saw her play it acoustic, it had so much heart and raw like emotion and passion, and it's hard to capture that kind of thing in a recorded session, because you're recording something over and over again, and it really does. I think it's you can definitely hear the edge in her voice, especially on the very last lyric of it. I want to let me share a little piece of that real quick, because I'll even take it to that ending piece. Hold on, it's got to do its thing. There we go.
Maybe I really ought to learn my place.
If we get all the way to the end, though, wait, I didn't mean to go.
Now it's a different song.
I went too far.
Maybe I really ought to learn my place, but old habits die hard to pull up a chair, sit there anyways. Maybe you don't get what I'm going after, so here, let me educate you on this matter. Real tired of your fatherly advice, cause I had the man, not my heavenly father. One thing I never doubt was God's anointing, cause I don't want your sympathy. I've been doing just fine without an apology, but what I really want is for you to be the leader that God created you to be.
So like when you get, you can hear the vibe, right? Just from the start and the very end, you can hear all of that like emotion compacted in there. It's also a really groovy song in the background. I mean, it is a kind of a hip hop tune, but it's got a lot of stuff in the lyrics about, religion and those who purvey religion not being who they purport to be. And that's really a message that I think I've experienced most of my life, growing up with a grandmother who was in the church as a reverend, and others, alongside all of that. I had kind of front row seat to some of the, false prophets that exist in the world, and so I've always felt a little bit of that anger that she has as she's putting this together, when people take advantage of others in the way that they, and their faith and their and literally what they're counting on them for, which is emotional support and family support and communication. And it's so I really love that song, and I think it's just really well done on this one.
Yeah, and same. I think that's the first thing that you played for me when you picked me up to go record some episodes, and just blown away by that. And then seeing the evolution of having it redone on this, it's just like I'm very impressed with her in many ways, but I'm not really into religious music too much. But with hers, like you forget that it's like religious stuff at some point. You're just kind of like, oh yeah, this is just good. And then you had to have like, with that song in particular, just, that message, and you're like, you don't even really have to be religious to, get that message and everything. So she rocks it out.
I wanted to go back to, you mentioned that she's got like this kind of hip hop beat. A lot of her songs seem to have this like R&B influence that reminds me of like Y2K music, like Rob Thomas, The Script, like a lot of them have taken that like beat, like even like Natasha Bedingfield, like there's a certain like subsect of R&B that was very popular in like the early 2000s. And I feel like some of her songs even pull from that in a way, which was really cool. So
I can see that.
Yeah, like the second track on the album was really like that for me. It was like Unbroken. Yeah, Unbroken was like that for me.
Well, let's hear a little Unbroken. Why not? We can.
Or Colby Calais too. It's got kind of that sound.
You don't understand, no. You don't understand, no. Oh. 'Cause in this year body lights are broken men. This year body lights are broken men. And you don't understand the objects these eyes have looked upon, or the deeds I've done, 'cause if you did, you would offer me hate instead of love. And you don't understand the thoughts this mind has fought, or the paths I saw, 'cause if you did, you would already be gone.
Yeah, so I think that honestly, if she doesn't cover anything, but if she covered like Natasha Bedingfield or Colby Calais, it would totally work.
Yeah, if she covered Regina Spektor, it would be almost like too on the nose, you know? Like,
Yeah.
well, especially like with her visualization, I think that it's very like she makes Bible references sound like massive bits of folklore. Like I mentioned Regina Spektor. A lot of the music sounds like the Big Fish soundtrack, actually. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie.
I've seen the movie. I haven't like specifically gone, oh, I'm going to listen to the Big Fish soundtrack. But
well, that's because most of it is Regina Spektor. So
I see.
Yeah, I played some of her music for a friend, and she said she reminded her of Joss Stone too.
Ah, yeah. Well, I mean, I think the thing is that she reminds us of these folks, but obviously she has her own thing, right?
Yes.
It's just somewhere in between all of those. It's in that genre, right?
Mm-hmm.
Although it's got, definitely a Christian twist on that genre. That's definitely up front on a lot of the songs.
Well, I think that we talk about like modern religious music. I think that like there's definitely a place being carved out for like religion in a context that isn't like the traditional like YMCA camp like soundtrack. Kanye West put out some religious like notes in his most recent albums. Like Chance the Rapper talks about religion and stuff like that. Like there's plenty of like modern religious music that isn't necessarily like solely for people who are in a church setting. So
well, that's true. I mean, especially amongst country artists, they just sprinkle in a little religion here and there all the time, right?
Yeah, I mean, they use it as the same thing as like driving a truck sometimes, but yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think you and I were talking not long ago about the Brooks and Dunn song "Believe." That's just a total banger. Right?
It's not my fault they made it a banger. Okay,
it's like one of the best songs of that decade. Yeah, and it's completely about religion. But be damned if it doesn't matter what religion you are. It's really easy to get caught up singing that one. It's a good one. Right? Yeah. A couple of the things that I really dig. There's a song in here that's called "Working Hands."
Yeah.
And that one is, I especially like the idea and the visualization that you get when you hear it, thinking about how your family works really hard to do whatever they do, and it's kind of the whole theme of the song, but this whole, that your hands are kind of central to the kind of work, that you do. Like, if you have working hands of someone who does manual labor, there might be all kinds of different calluses on them from that. If you're someone who like plays guitar, you might have them on your fingertips. If you have, if you're a nail salon person, your working hands might be just decorated, right? And so I that's not really like what she's talking about in the song, but that's the kind of visualization I get, like just from the whole idea of, my father has working hands, my mother has working hands,
That's so back in, this is a weird deep cut. So back in 2018, I was working an internship in St. Louis for St. Louis Magazine. And one of the people I interviewed while I was there was an artist named Fidencio Field Perez. And he does textile work. He's like a high arts person who creates these like complex weavings basically. And he made them this series called Barn Quilts about basically feeling like you have two homes, one in America and one in Mexico. And when I interviewed him, he said something interesting. He was like, part of what drives what I do as an artist is born from the fact that I grew up in a family where like labor, like hard labor with your hands has dignity, right? Like that belief that making something and having like a physical remnant of that work is something to have pride in. So very cross-generational, cross-cultural ideas there.
Yeah, and then with her getting to know her parents, they're both contractors, and that's what they do for a living. It's when you meet them and you see just how personal and literal it is for her. Like her parents are awesome. Like they've seen me perform, but just by being their kids' shows. And his brother Sam is a comedian too. But their parents are so supportive, and they're always at their shows. And they've seen me more than my parents have. They've seen me. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's good people.
Yeah, Samuel is Anna's brother, and he's pretty funny. And he did kind of an introduction at the launch show, and then Chris Wolf was the opener.
Never heard of him.
No one's ever heard of him. So, I thought, not just record review, the show was really well done. They played great live. They sound like they do on the record, which is, that's kind of magical. It was a lot of, it was really well done. And you were talking about her parents. I mean, they were there. They were like out there selling refreshments and stuff, and keeping everybody happy. And
and her siblings are helping with that too. Is like a big family affair. It's just I love their family. I was like, it's just so cool. Like just seeing them there and supporting, because they're 7 kids and they do everything for all of them. It's cool to see. And then for at the release show, it was cool. Like she'd introduce each song and give a little bit of what it's about or its history, whatever. And she'd be like a little bit nervous while she's kind of just doing that. But then once they started and she started singing, just like, yeah, that's her. Like just boom, like, in the performance mode that way, and that was really cool. Just to be able to turn it on like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, do you have a favorite on the record, Brent?
Yeah, I've just last night and today, like I've listened to it all the way through like 3 or 4 times, and if I had to pick like just one, it'd be the same with you, a False Prophet, or maybe Sparrow, which you had a hand in naming.
Yeah, well,
but there's not one song that there's no weak link on this record. 15 tracks, and they're all great.
Yeah, Sparrow is interesting. She came to sing it at the open stage the first time she sang it. She's like, I'm not sure what to name this. And she's like, if you guys have suggestions. And she got done, and I said, I think it should be called Sparrow. And then I guess that's just what happened.
No, it fits too.
Yeah, it's that's a good tune. It's honestly, we should listen to a moment of it. It's a little different than some of the others.
Yeah, the imagery on this one is really good.
Finally at the end of the tunnel, I can feel the light streaming in. Finally turning the chapter, I can't wait to see how this one ends. Oh, and it seems
Yeah, you see where the sparrow thing comes from once you hear the chorus. Yeah. But it's a little different rhythmically than a lot of the songs on the record.
Yeah, it's like a lot more upbeat. It's probably the most dance-worthy track.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it. Yeah.
Except when he's doing his song "Dance with Me."
What's that? What did you say about Dance with Me?
Well, that's like the only time you really get to dance.
Oh, I guess.
To dance with you, you have to dance as well.
Well, I guess so. I don't know if I can dance to a lawnmower to this song, or maybe you could, because that's
not everybody's cool like that.
Your forte. Lawnmower dancing with Brent Lee Smith. If you taught a class in that, I'm sure it would be interesting and fun.
Might have to look into that.
I feel like the safety protocol and something like that might be pretty strict. You might have to get a waiver to do lawnmower dancing.
I don't know. Did you have to get extra insurance when you were filming the lawnmower dance? Or
no. I just kind of did my own thing. I'm a rebel.
Fun. So overall, on the record, we think it's a plus.
Yeah, yes. I would put it at a plus.
No, that's where I am. I think it's a very solid independent record. If you guys are looking for a very unique record, honestly, there's not a lot dropping right now that sounds like this. And the lyrics are across the board. There's stories in every one of these songs. A lot of them are very Christian and religious. And that is, if you're a Christian, you're totally going to love it. If you're not, I still think you'll like a lot of the songs. They're very well written and very well thought out. And hear the message, hear her message, and then enjoy the tunes. That's where I'm at on it.
Yeah, it's not at all preachy. She talks about some religious things and some things in that context, but like if you're like me, you'll forget that it's a religious thing, and then you're like, oh yeah, that's what like that's in the Bible or whatever, and it's just like it's just good music. It's just good. If you like music, you'll like this.
Do you have anything else, Bay?
No, I think if you give it a listen, it'll give perfect explanation for everything that we've already said. So I agree with the two of you. I think that you've pretty well summed it up. So yeah.
Cool beans. Well, that's it for today's Moonshine and Music. We'll see you next week. Moonshine and Music is a presentation of Notlehs Entertainment, copyright 2023, produced by Joe Shelton, cameraman, grip, and stunt double, always Brent Lee Smith. We hope you join us for more episodes of Moonshine and Music.